From the Hero Law Firm Studios, welcome to the Gwinnett Daily Post Podcast. Today is Wednesday, November 30th, and happy 57th birthday to actor Ben Stiller.
I mean, come on. I know you. You know you. And I know you know that I know you.
I'm Dan Ratcliffe, and here are your top stories presented by Peggy Slappy Properties. Brookwood grad Nick Moore leads the AFC Pro Bowl voting for long snapper. Senate Dems re-elect Gloria Butler as minority leader. And in our DTL download series, find out how Ironshield Brewing is making delicious craft beer right in downtown Lawrenceville. We'll have all this and more coming up on the Gwinnett Daily Post Podcast.
Huddle up, everyone. Hi, I'm Peggy Slappy from Peggy Slappy Properties. Just like every good quarterback needs an offensive line, every home buyer and every home seller needs a good professional realtor on their side to keep them from getting sacked. Our trusted team of PSP realtors has been helping Gwinnetians buy and sell homes for over 40 years, and we'd love to help you call the winning play. Come by our office today or see us online at psponline.com. Whatever your real estate need, our team of experienced professionals is here to serve you. Buying and selling a home is more than just a transaction. It's our priority. Peggy Slappy Properties is a trusted market leader in the greater Gwinnett area for 40 years and counting.
Ready, set, hike. Bobby, snap the ball.
This ball's the only thing holding me up right now.
Brookwood graduate Nick Moore, who plays for the Baltimore Ravens, is the AFC's leading vote getter at long snapper for the Pro Bowl as of Monday. The NFL announced voting totals of the leaders after the early stages of voting, which will continue at NFL.com and on team sites through December 15th. Starting December 1st, fans will be able to vote directly on Twitter by tweeting the player's first and last name, the player's official Twitter handle or hashtag, including the player's first and last name, along with hashtag Pro Bowl vote. Full roster selections for the Pro Bowl are determined by the consensus votes of fans, players, and coaches. Each group's vote counts 1/3 toward choosing the players. State Senate Democrats reelected their top leadership team Monday. Senator Gloria Butler will return as Senate Minority Leader during the 23-24 legislative term, which starts in January. The Senate Democratic Caucus also reelected Senator Harold Jones of Augusta to serve as Minority Whip and Senator Elena Parent from Atlanta to serve another term as Caucus Chair. The rest of the Democratic leadership team for the next 2 years will include Senator Sonya Halpern from Atlanta, who will serve as caucus vice chair, Senator David Lucas of Macon, who was elected vice chair of fundraising and campaigns, and Senator Nan Orrock of Atlanta, who will serve as caucus secretary. The upcoming term will be Butler's second as minority leader. She rose to the post at the beginning of last year after then minority leader Steve Henson decided not to run for re-election in 2020. Democrats gained a seat in the Georgia Senate in this month's elections. During the next term, majority Republicans will hold 33 seats to 23 seats for the Democrats. And now here's community reporter Matt Golden with our weekly Education Spotlight.
Hello, Gwinnett listeners. Gwinnett County has a lot of great schools that have great traditions in academics, athletics, arts, student life, community, and more. This week, our academic spotlight will highlight Burkmore High School. Founded in 1966 and located in Lilburn, Burkmore has 2,912 students with a 16.21 student-to-teacher ratio. Their colors are red, white, and blue. Their mascot is the Patriot, and they compete athletically in Region 8A and Class 6A. Burkmore is fed by Burkmore Middle School and Sweetwater Middle School. Burkmore won the 2008 Inspiration Award from the College Board for its high numbers in the AP program and had the 2010 and 2013 Georgia State AP Scholars. The title of State AP Scholar is granted to one male and one female student in each U.S. state and the District of Columbia with scores of 3 or higher on the greatest number of AP exams and then the highest average score on all AP exams taken. Burkmore also participates in the Quest Bridge Scholarship Program, a nonprofit program that aims to link high-achieving, low-income students with educational scholarship opportunities at U.S. colleges and universities It includes the National College Match Program for high school seniors. Berkmar High School's principal is Durant Williams. Berkmar fields sports teams in baseball, basketball, cheerleading, cross country, football, golf, soccer, softball, swimming and diving, tennis, track and field, volleyball, flag football, and wrestling. Notable Berkmar alumni include the late Kirshnick Ball, famously known as the Migos rapper Takeoff. Takeoff tragically passed away earlier this month. Also attending were fellow Migos members Quavius Marshall, famously known as Quavo, and Kiari Cephas, famously known as Offset. Quavo was Takeoff's uncle. Former UCF and NFL linebacker Troy Davis graduated from Berkmar in 2009. In 2007, he was named Academic Athlete of the Year at Berkmar. In his pro career, he played for the New York Jets, the Dallas Cowboys, the Hamilton Tiger Cats, and the Toronto Argonauts. On April 23, 2022, he was hired by Second Year High School. Another famous Berkmar alum is a voice you probably recognize if you're a fan of the TV show Archer. Voice actress Amber Nash, who voices Pam Poovey in the show Archer, is a Berkmar grad. She is also featured in the animated TV series Frisky Dingo. In addition to that, she's had voice roles on Aqua Teen Hunger Force, Squidbillies, and Mr. Robot. And finally, another Berkmar alum is Steve Whitmire, a puppeteer known primarily for his work on The Muppets and Sesame Street. Beginning his involvements with The Muppets in 1978, he inherited the roles of Ernie and Kermit the Frog after Jim Henson's death in 1990. He performed the characters until 2014 and 2016. As a part of the Muppet cast, he appeared in multiple feature films, television series, and performed a variety of characters on The Muppet Show, Sesame Street, and Fraggle Rock, and during such occupations has been employed by the Jim Henson Company, Sesame Workshop, and the Muppet Studio. He met his wife Melissa during his senior year at Berkmar. For more information, please go to berkmaronline.com. For the Gwinnett Daily Post Podcast, I'm Matt Golden.
A trio of Wesleyan seniors recently settled their futures in college baseball. Pitcher, third baseman Dominic Scalisi signed with Tulane, outfielder Forrest Leitz committed to Birmingham Southern, and first baseman outfielder Schley Gordy signed with Spartanburg Methodist. Scalise hit .273 with 5 home runs, 19 RBIs, 23 runs, and 7 stolen bases last season for the Wolves state title team, in addition to going 3-2 with 36 strikeouts and 32 2/3 innings as pitcher. Leitz hit .404 with 6 home runs, 39 RBIs, 11 doubles, 29 runs, and 11 stolen bases, while Gordy hit .347 with 5 homers, 11 doubles, 47 RBIs, 38 runs, and 18 stolen bases. Tulane is a Division I baseball program in the American Conference. Birmingham Southern competes at the Division III level in the Southern Athletic Association, and Spartanburg Methodist is a member of the National Junior College Athletic Association and has a strong tradition of sending players to finish their collegiate careers at Division I baseball programs.
We sat down with Lauren Livesay and Colin Cappy, second-generation employees at Mall of Georgia Chrysler Dodge Jeep, to talk about their great customers both here in Gwinnett and across the country.
Well, one of my neighbors bought all his cars from us, and when I see him in the morning, I give him a good wave, and I'm very thankful for that. And he continues to want to purchase vehicles from us because of the good experiences he's had.
We have people from out of state that will come back that have been buying cars from us for years that'll drive on in or fly on in, trade in their car, get a new one, and leave. And we have some that are just loyal customers that have been with us for 28, 29 years. But then we have the ones, we have a very big online presence. We've been getting a lot of product, and we've been shipping them out all over the United States.
Mall of Georgia Chrysler Dodge Jeep. Go see them on the lot at 4345 Buford Drive in Buford, or go online and find them at mallofgeorgachryslerDodgeJeep.com.
Why talk to Tom M. Wage's Funeral Home Service today? You remove the financial and emotional stress from your loved ones. On the worst day of their lives, your family doesn't need to add financial stress to the pain of loss. You protect them. A pre-funded, pre-arranged funeral allows your family to grieve and mourn without the worry of how to pay. Plus, the peace of mind you have knowing everything is taken care of is priceless. Don't leave the worry and stress to your loved ones. Take care of your funeral prearrangements now. Let the family service professionals at Tom M. Wages in Snellville or Lawrenceville help you. Call Tom M. Wages today at 770-979-3200 or email jim@wagesfuneralhome.com. Tom M. Wages, the most respected and requested funeral home in Gwinnett County.
The Gwinnett Daily Post is giving away a 4-pack of tickets to Fernbank Museum. Call 404-997-8655 and leave a voicemail for your chance to win.
The Gwinnett Daily Post is giving away a 4-pack of tickets to see the Atlanta Gladiators. Call 404-997-8655 and leave a voicemail for your chance to win. Fernbank's Wildwoods Aglow illuminates the night this winter. Let's learn some more about it.
My name is Sarah Arnold. I am the Director of Education at Fernbank Museum. I've been here for almost 6 years, and I have about a decade's worth of background in environmental education with a focus in southeastern wildlife biology.
So that sounds like a great background. So we're here today to talk about Wildwoods Aglow. What is Wildwoods Aglow?
So Wildwoods Aglow is an augmented multi-sensory installation in the Wildwoods area of our campus, which is directly behind the museum. It is multi-sensory in the sense that there are some things that glow, but there are also some sounds. And many of the components are also interactive. So visitors who come to see this experience, if they pay attention, they're going to notice that not everything is initiated by the people. Some things are interacting with the people, maybe even without them knowing.
So what kind of things interact? What does that kind of look like?
Sure. So there are some fun lights that are it can be anything from an oversized or larger than life mushroom that glow. There are some things that do that. There are also some lights that are projected, say, onto a tree. Again, that's sort of that augmented reality. We're showing how roots carry water and nutrients into a tree via projections. But some of my favorite components would be the seeds that you start with. So at the beginning of the experience, there are 5 structures that look like the seeds of a tulip poplar tree. And part of this experience, the goal was to highlight iconic species or maybe even hidden species of plants and animals and other organisms that live in the Southeast and in this area of Georgia. And show the connection between all of those things. So for instance, you start with the tulip poplar seed. The tulip poplar tree is a very iconic species for this area. It is a very tall tree. It grows very tall, very straight, very fast, and it has these absolutely beautiful little yellow and orange flowers that bloom in late spring and early summer. Those flowers form a seed cone. And each of the seeds basically kind of looks like a long, skinny triangle. And if you kind of furrow that cone of seeds between your fingers, some of those seeds will start to fall away and flutter down to the ground. So at the beginning of this experience, we have 5 structures that look like those seeds. And along the boardwalk that surrounds them are stations where you can interact with the seeds. They are miniature versions of those seeds, and if you place your hand in front of them, you'll see some of the seeds start to light up. But the real magic happens with the connection. And what I mean by that is when you have 5 guests all interacting with their seeds at the same time, something really cool happens. And I don't want to give away what it is, but that is one of the first pieces of connection that you'll experience with Wildwoods Aglow.
So 5's the magic number for that.
In that particular scenario, yeah. Mm-hmm.
So definitely something to remember if you're planning your trip there.
Yes, absolutely.
One thing I find fascinating, I love that y'all do all this, and one thing that really I think is neat is that y'all do also highlight mushrooms, because that's kind of that's part of a forest that we've all seen, but I think people don't appreciate them as much.
Yeah, I agree. They're sort of they're the underrated fellows of the forest. I like to refer to them as part of the forest cleanup crew. And again, if we come back to that notion of connection, mushrooms are one of the most important pieces of the connection between the end of a life cycle and the beginning, right? They are the ones breaking down dead plants and other organic matter and turning it into nutrients for the soil, which then can help start that life cycle process all over again. And the really cool thing about mushrooms is that they are just one small part of a much larger organism. So not only do they metaphorically connect the end of a life cycle with the beginning, but they are also connected to each other underground by all of these small filaments called mycelia. And in this section with the larger than life glowing mushrooms, what we ask is if a mushroom could talk, because in life they would use those mycelia to communicate. If a mushroom could talk, what would it sound like? So this is another sort of interactive area of the experience. As you come into proximity of some of these mushrooms, you'll notice that they start making sounds at you as if they're trying to talk to you.
That just sounds so fascinating. And I mean, that's so cool that y'all are thinking in that way, because mushrooms can't talk the way that we typically think of talking, but obviously all these organisms have ways of communicating.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
That is so fascinating. So what are the dates for Wildwood Aglow?
So Wildwoods Aglow is going to be open starting this Thursday, November 17th, all the way through March 5th. And in a typical week, in a non-holiday week, the dates would be that Thursday through Sunday, usually between 5:30 and 11 or 6 and 11. It kind of depends on sundown time. And also during the holidays, we wanted to open a little bit earlier for more families to be able to come visit. So you've got about, 5 months for this. And this is intended to be an annual experience. So if you happen to miss it this year, it will be back.
And with tickets, are tickets bought separately from museum tickets, or are they included with the museum?
Yeah, because this experience is so different and so new from what we have done as a museum, it is considered a different experience from the museum. So these tickets do have to be purchased separately from museum admission.
And from my understanding, it's one of the events where you pick a time to come. It's you pick a select time. How long would you say it takes to go through the exhibit?
Yeah, so the tickets are timed by the hour, and it should take you between 45 minutes to an hour to get through it. It kind of depends on how curious and how playful you are, because again, in some of these areas, especially if you have little ones, you might spend a little bit more time at the Adventure Outpost area, which has some other neat interactives and really cool animations that come along with it. So it kind of, it depends on how curious you are and if you have kiddos and how quickly you want to move. But anywhere between 45 minutes to an hour.
So is this something recommended for all ages?
Absolutely. Yes. This is a family friendly experience. The only dates where we are not open to families with young children are our Fernbank After Dark nights, and those are always the second Friday of the month. So those will be adult only, 21 and up nights.
And for those who may not know or have never been, what is Fernbank After Dark?
Oh yeah, Fernbank After Dark is one of my favorite events, not just to attend, but also to work. It is an adult-only science night. So it is 21 and up, drinks and live music. Each month has a theme, and we have educational activities, hands-on stuff that the guests can do around different areas of the museum, as well as all of the exhibits being open.
That sounds like maybe a great parents' night out or something to have a little fun and learn something, because this obviously sounds like such a fascinating way to learn about how the forest works as one system.
Mm-hmm, absolutely. Yeah, it's a fantastic date night. for sure. For folks that want to come visit the experience, again, just come curious, because there are going to be things that happen that you won't expect, and they're not necessarily going to be initiated by you. So, there are going to be things that happen just because you're close by, not because you did something specific. So just pay attention.
If Lawrenceville residents hear loud sirens or suddenly find roads closed around the Gwinnett Justice and Administration Center on Saturday, chances are they shouldn't worry that anything bad is happening. They should plan ahead on having to deal with those issues and sounds, however. The Gwinnett County Sheriff's Office announced on Monday that its Court Operations Division will conduct a multi-agency active shooter training exercise at GJAC from 8 until 9:30 a.m. on Saturday. The training will entail law enforcement doing everything they would do if they were responding to a real active shooter incident at the courthouse. Even though the event will be a training exercise, the Sheriff's Office warned that drivers will still have to follow all traffic laws, such as yielding the right-of-way to emergency vehicles and reducing speed around vehicles that have activated their lights and sirens. Officials pledged that any traffic delays are expected to be minimal. Residents will still be able to call 911 in case of criminal activity or emergencies are taking place. And now, let's learn about Ironshield Brewing, making some tasty beer right in downtown Lawrenceville.
All right, my name is David Rice, and I am one of the founders at Ironshield Brewing. And technically, my title is CEO, so I handle a lot of the business side of the brewery. But I'm also have a background in beer and beverage and all, so I get out on the floor and help a little bit to in the production. I do a lot of work working with our lab and how we do our quality control. And I have a lot of experience in the packaging side. My background, I came from Coca-Cola. And so I get involved in, what we're doing from a packaging standpoint. Get involved in a lot of work with our customers. What they need from, lead the have a marketing department that we use that creating the content for our website and for social media and signage and things. So I am very fortunate. I get to work in that space a little bit with those guys and a little bit of everything. So it's a lot of fun. It's interesting every single day.
I'm sure it is. Well, my morning has been interviewing about someone with comic books and now someone with beer. So that sounds like a pretty great time. So how long have y'all been in Lawrenceville?
So we bought the building just over 3 years ago, and then to build a brewery, it's a pretty involved project. So it took us about 1 year to get the brewery all built, and then we were going to launch on February 1st of 2020. And you can imagine there were a few obstacles that delayed that launch, and then we finally were able to launch in July 11th of 2020.
It's fascinating. I've done different interviews with different breweries across Metro Atlanta, and there's so many that have that similar story of they started around that time and then pandemic hit. How'd y'all work with that?
It was challenging. The first piece of it was, if you recall back then, that the pandemic started in other parts of the world before it really got going here in the U.S. So a lot of our equipment comes out of Germany, and we've got some things that come out of Italy. And as we were, finishing everything up, there are a few parts and pieces that were critical for our machines to be able to operate and brewing systems to be able to operate. And those parts were held up in Europe. They were shut down and they couldn't ship. And then as we worked through getting all the final parts and pieces to get the brewery fully operational, then the pandemic had moved here. And a lot of the things that we faced were just the regulatory compliance things, getting all your final permits and inspections and all of that, all of those things. And with the a lot of departments shut down, we're very fortunate that the city of Lawrenceville leadership there really went to bat for us and worked to help make sure that all of those things got accomplished. It took some time, but it took, like I said, from February 1st to July 11th to get all of that done.
So in those first days, were y'all kind of doing a lot more pickup, people coming in to pick up beer and leaving, or what was that kind of like?
Well, it was kind of a bit of a mixed bag. So we were open. We're very fortunate that we had a large beer garden outside area. So we were able to folks could come in and, traffic was light, obviously, but people could, spread out and be outside. And so we had, on-premise business there at the brewery. And then, of course, we produce products that are packaged in cans. And so people could pick up a 6-pack or a case to go and take that home if they didn't want to hang around at the brewery.
And that really was a saving grace during the early days of the pandemic, was places like y'all that have outdoor seating, because you couldn't go inside a place like normal. So the ability to be able to at least get out and see people, that was huge.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And we did some things with the Aurora Theater. Of course, they were shut down. Their inside activities were shut down at their facility. And then, of course, the construction project that started up as well. And so we invited them to come down, and the comedy troupe and the musical troupe and all. And we said, look, set up in our beer garden, use it, and do your thing, sell your tickets, and we'll be here if people want to have a beer along with the show. And that worked out really, really nicely. Gave them a place to come to and do their thing, and we. Our customers enjoyed the entertainment. We had the outside space. I remember there were a couple of times it was, we were in the throes of winter, and I guess it was late January, February, and it was below zero, and the beer garden was packed with people there to see the show. Everybody had their parkas on, and everybody, made the best of it and had a good time.
So we'll fast forward to today. What does a typical weekend look like around the brewery?
So our tap room, we're open Wednesday through Sunday. So Wednesday evening, and we do trivia, and then Thursday evening, typically there's some cornhole leagues that do their thing, have a DJ and all of that. Then Friday nights, this time of year, of course, there's some sports activities, and certainly Saturdays there's sports activities. But then we'll have different events. So we'll do different charity events. We generally have, of course, our beer, and then food trucks that are in on the weekends, so they can come in and eat and have something to drink. And then same thing, Saturdays we open up, at noon on Saturday, and throughout the day, then the food trucks come in, and occasionally we'll have live music or a different charity event or something that's going on. Last weekend we had a charity event that's car show, and in that situation we block off a couple of blocks worth of streets and lots of cars and other vendors and all raising money for the Beyond the Ribbon charity was that particular one.
That's fantastic. So, we'll talk a little bit about the beer. What are y'all's kind of specialties when it comes to the beer?
So our specialties are the classic European ales and lagers. So these are beers that have been popular for some of them 400 and 500 years. So what we have done is built a brewery that has the capability to reproduce the exact processes that are used for some of the most famous beers in the world that come out of Czech Republic, Germany, Belgium, out of England, Scotland, Ireland. That's our focus. We also do American styles as well. We've done, West Coast IPA, and we've done New England, hazy IPAs as well. So we'll mix in a few of those things, but the specialties are these very easy, very approachable type beers.
And one thing that fascinates me about the craft beer industry is as it's grown, there's so many different types, and there's really a product for everybody. What's it like? I know you said you'll have your specialty, but to also kind of experiment with those West Coast IPAs and those different kinds. How is it producing such a wide variety of products?
Well, yeah, it's I guess it's much like restaurants that produce a lot of different things. We have quite a few recipes that we have brewed for many years, and I would say I think that we've perfected those to get them like what we want. And so it's really attention to detail. Brewing is about process, and especially when you look at the European styles, it's a precision art. So having the right equipment, the attention to detail. And then, like with food, any type of food, raw materials are a very important part of it, right? There's cheap raw materials out there, just like, buying a steak. You can get a cheap cut of meat, or you can get a really, really nice cut of meat. And, the end result, it's hard to make that cheap cut of meat match up like an expensive steak. We bring in grains from Europe, so our European styles of beer, we bring in grains from Europe, we bring in hops from Europe. We do lab analysis on raw materials to make sure that they are, in fact, the highest quality. We think that's very, very important. And then the attention to detail to the process. That gives you, ultimately that final product that has the taste profile that it's supposed to have.
So I know you said, we talked about the actual brewery, but you also do distribution. How far out do y'all distribute product?
So we are distributing primarily across the kind of the northern part of the state. We do have some distribution down in the lower half of the state a little bit. But right now our focus is really kind of our backyard. So Gwinnett County, of course, is a fantastic place to be, from the people and the population center and all. So that's our primary focus, and then the adjacent counties around is secondary focus right now.
And so, Metro Atlanta is kind of the craft beer hotbed of the South. Do y'all ever do any collaborations with other brewers in the area?
So we've talked about some collaborations. We haven't yet, but that's certainly something that we're looking at doing. From a brewing system standpoint, we built a pretty large brewery that we're growing into, and so when we do a batch of beer, it's a very large batch. So it makes it a little bit challenging on doing the collaboration thing, but we've got a few of those in our future, and we'll make sure and publicize those on our website and social media when those do come out.
It's fascinating. You mentioned earlier too that you used to be with Coca-Cola. What's the big difference between packaging Coca-Cola and packaging beer?
Well, on the packaging side, it's very similar. I mean, what we do and the kind of technology we put in high-speed packaging line is a scaled-down version of what you would do at Coke. Where the difference is all on the front side. It's the making of beer, it's the brewing. So, a soda, you're blending some flavorings and some water and adding CO2 to carbonate it, and you package it immediately. With a beer, it's if you really look at raw materials and all the different things you do, you're several months into getting to the finished process. The brewing part happens on a single day. All the raw materials come together and you brew that, the hot side of the process where it's cooking it, if you want to think of it that way. And then we cool it down and we move it into the fermentation tanks for the yeast to do their thing, right? So they will create the alcohol and the CO2, and there's an aging process and a maturation process. We're very adamant about not rushing that to really get the flavor profile the way that you want that beer to be. It takes time. So, each style of beer is a little bit different. Some of them take 6, even 8 weeks to mature, and there's some that can be done in as little as 3 weeks.
So how has the city of Lawrenceville embraced y'all?
The city has been fantastic. So, every step of the way they have done everything in their power to help support us, and back from day one with the challenges of pandemic and permitting and all of that, and then we view it as a nice partnership with the city as we do different types of events that attract people into the city, and the city helps to promote, as they do with all the retailers around the city. They're helping to promote events. Events help bring people into the city, and it's been amazing. If you look back to when we first bought the building and what the city has done with this downtown area and the entertainment district. There were a lot of places in the state that during the pandemic, everybody pulled back in those places and nothing happened. They went backwards. It was very pleasing to see that the city leaders here pressed forward. I mean, there was a lot of improvement that happened during the pandemic, and now we all get to benefit from that.
Absolutely. Do you have any upcoming events that you want to promote?
Well, we've got beer release coming up. That'll be around December 1st, which is our Belgian dark ale, which is called our Double. So that release is coming up, and that's that winter month type beer. We're still in the final part of Oktoberfest, so there's still a little bit of the Oktoberfest beer that's available. There's still a little of it out in retail. That'll be winding down. But it's a delicious beer. It is as authentic as we can make it. It's a German style amber. A lot of people refer to it as a Marzen or a Fest beer, and that's delicious. We've had a big Oktoberfest release that just happened a few weeks ago, and so we have that going on. And then after the first of the year, then we'll be back with celebrating some of the different beers, and there will be some releases that happen with our Maibach, which is a German style strong lager, and that'll be released around May 1st. And then we've got our Hefeweizen, which will come out probably around March 1st, and so we'll have big release events around those. And then sprinkled in between, we'll have different events, charity events and different things going on in the beer garden.
That's fantastic, and a lot of great opportunities and great beers, which brings me to my last question, and this one may be the hardest one. What's your favorite kind of beer?
Oh, man. See, I'm a true beer lover, and I really do like a wide variety of beers. And, it's kind of like that question, which one's your favorite child kind of thing. I do appreciate all of them. And really, I think it depends on occasion. So some of the lighter beers like our Kolsch and our Helles, they just work well with all kinds of food, right? They don't compete with the food. They complement the food. So those are really my go-to beers that I drink most of the time. If I'm drinking a beer without food, then I tend to move towards our Seven Sisters a lot of times. Just, I'm kind of, I don't drink a lot of beer, and I'm not a quantity drinker. I'm a quality drinker. And so if I'm going to have one beer, and I'm just drinking that by itself, I think our Seven Sisters, which is a Vienna-style lager. Now Vienna lager is not from Vienna; it's a German-style beer. But there were some brewers that made it popular, and they had come from Vienna, and they were in Munich, and so everybody called it Vienna lager, and it stuck.
Wow.
So, but it's just delicious, and just stands on its own perfectly.
From the water that flows from your tap to the roads you drive on your way to work, Gwinnett County government provides high-quality services to residents every day. Our residents, businesses, schools, local governments, and nonprofits have a long tradition of working together to make Gwinnett the best place to live, work, play, and raise a family. Together, we'll ensure that Gwinnett is a place where everyone thrives. Learn more about county services at GwinnettCounty.com and follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at GwinnettGov. Follow a recipe for success and join the Cafe Gwinnett team. With Gwinnett County Public Schools serving in the school cafeteria. Highly competitive pay, hourly rates start at $14 and go up to $19.52 per hour. Enjoy the fruits of part-time work while receiving full-time benefits for you and your family. Work just 4 to 5 hours each school day. Get great health benefits and dental coverage for you and your family with a generous employer contribution. Fully paid training with no experience required and a work schedule that fits your busy life. You'll never have to work evenings, weekends, or any during the summer. If Cafe Gwinnett is the place for you, apply today at gcpsjobs.org/Cafe Gwinnett.
Thanks again for listening to today's Gwinnett Daily Post Podcast. Did you know over 50% of Americans listen to podcasts weekly? Make sure you join us for our next episode and share this podcast on social media with your friends and family. You can add us to your Alexa Flash Briefing or Google Home Briefing, and be sure to like, follow, and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. This podcast is a production of BG Ad Group. Darren Sutherland, Executive Director. Jacob Sutherland, Director. Matt Golden, News Director. Chen Ray Zhang, Director Producer. And Jason Gentarola, Audio Producer. All rights reserved.